There's something about abandoned places that makes your skin crawl. The silence, the shadows, the feeling that you're not really alone.
Leave me alone!
Today, we're bringing you 27 of the most disturbing encounters caught on camera in abandoned buildings.
Everything's swinging too. Oh, shit.
From hostile encounters with hidden residents to paranormal activity deep in forgotten mines. Grab your flashlight and maybe a friend. You're going to want company for this one. A night in the forgotten hospital. Would you ever step into an abandoned hospital, knowing its halls have been silent for years, yet somehow not empty? That's exactly what one brave investigator did one fateful Friday night in the heart of Dallas, Texas. What started as a routine exploration quickly turned into something out of a horror movie. At first, it was just dust-covered hallways, flickering light through cracked windows, and the faint smell of mildew in the air.
Just kind of like stripping wires and stealing stuff. You can tell from up there, that's what's going on here.
But as the investigator moved deeper into the hospital's cold, decaying corridors, the atmosphere began to shift. The air felt heavier, the silence sharper. It was as if the building itself was holding its breath. Then came the discovery. In a dimly lit room, surrounded by what looked like grim props from a horror set, there were pools of blood, thick, dark, and real. It wasn't painted, it wasn't fake, it was coagulated blood, and it told a story no one wanted to hear. Had someone been here recently? Was this part of some sinister ritual?
Oh my God, this is unreal.
The investigator pressed on, but with every step, the thin line between reality and something else began to fade. Shadows danced where they shouldn't, faint whispers teased the edges of hearing, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched crept in from every direction. After the investigator made it out into the night, it was unmistakable. Whatever haunts those rotting walls refuses to remain in the past. The haunted House of Elbow. What if a house refused to be renovated? Urban explorer Jonah found himself standing before an abandoned home in Canada's Elbow, a place tied to occult history and shadowed by stories of a mysterious high priestess or priest who once lived there. The home was a strange mix, half decayed, half recently renovated, as if someone had tried to breathe life into it but gave up halfway through.
I'm not here to bother or rob anything. I was just here exploring. I thought it was a band.
As Jonah climbed the creaky stairs, an overwhelming sense of unease washed over him. That's when he heard it, a man's voice in the distance, followed by heavy footsteps echoing down the empty corridor. Was it a lingering spirit, a squatter? Jonah didn't stick around to find out. Some questions are better left unanswered. The haunting secrets of the wildlife park. Abandoned places often hold secrets, but what happens when those secrets stare back at you with lifeless glass eyes? That's the question an explorer faced while wandering through an old wildlife park, a place shuttered in 2012 after violations and licensing failures. The park's animals had long been surrendered to the RSPCA, its gates locked and forgotten by most. But deep within one of the decaying buildings, the explorer stumbled upon something both extraordinary and terrifying.
I'm down front, I don't care. Look at the scratches on the wall. Possum's trying to get inside.
A 5-meter-long great white shark, perfectly preserved through taxidermy, floating silently in a massive tank. Imagine staring into those dead, unblinking eyes in the silence of an abandoned building. It's the stuff of nightmares.
Can you see it?
But the shark wasn't the only thing waiting for discovery. The explorer, joined later by a group of urban adventurers, revisited an abandoned hospital nearby, this time armed with spirit communication devices. Almost immediately, strange phenomena began to unfold. Phantom footsteps echoed down empty hallways, shadows shifted in corners where no light could have cast them, and faint, chilling noises whispered from behind closed doors. But the strangest part?
Hello?
As they climbed to the higher floors, the group realized something unnerving. The layout was wrong. The rooms, hallways, and staircases weren't where they had been during their first visit. It was as if the building itself was changing. Then came the messages. Through their devices, cryptic words flickered and whispered through the static. One explorer caught a fleeting glimpse of an elderly woman in the corner of a room, a figure there for only a moment before fading into thin air. And just as they decided to leave, they found a scene so chilling, so deeply unsettling, that it froze them in place. Abandoned island with a wheelchair and alarm. Could an abandoned island hold secrets waiting to be uncovered? A group of urban explorers decided to find out, and let me tell you, their adventure turned into something straight out of a horror movie. At first, it was just your usual exploration, flaking paint, rusted doors, and the eerie silence you'd expect from a place long left behind. But as they wandered deeper into the crumbling buildings, they stumbled upon something off. At the base of a grand, shadow-drenched double staircase sat a wheelchair, not just casually discarded, but placed deliberately.
What is going on here?
We're definitely in the hospital.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, you're right though, but...
Like it was waiting for someone or something to come back and sit in it. The group stood frozen, questions racing through their minds. Who put it there? Why here, of all places? And what kind of story does this wheelchair carry with it? But the wheelchair wasn't the end of their unsettling discoveries. Deeper into what seemed to be an old maintenance area, the explorers heard something impossible. An alarm, loud, persistent, blaring through the still air.
The alarm is just going off constantly still.
Here's the catch. It had been years, maybe even decades, since anyone maintained this place. So why was it still powered? And who or what was it warning?
Lights are on. And what's going on here?
The shrieking sound bounced off the empty walls, echoing into every crevice of the building, like a desperate cry from the island's past. Whatever message it carried, one thing was clear. The island wasn't ready to give up all its secrets. The abandoned church of Bournemouth. There's something undeniably creepy about an abandoned church, don't you think? The heavy silence, the faded pews, the stained glass windows, catching fragments of light. It feels like walking into someone's forgotten prayers. Well, a group of thrill-seekers in Bournemouth decided to explore one such church. From the moment they stepped through the decaying doorway, they could feel it. Something wasn't right. The air was thick and heavy with a strange stillness. Relics of a bygone congregation lay scattered across the floors. Bibles, broken candlesticks, and dust-covered hymn books. It was like time had just stopped. But then they found it. In the center of the room, illuminated by faint light filtering through shattered glass, lay torn Bibles arranged in a perfect circle. In the middle?
Right here, it seems like someone placed this here and teared up Bibles.
The chilling number 666 was scrawled boldly.
I just found this. It says 666 on it. I'm not sure if the fourth 6 means anything, but I know the 666 is the mark of the devil.
The group froze. Every hair on their neck stood on end. Questions flooded their minds. Was this some kind of ritual? Who had done this? And more importantly, were they still here? Suddenly, every creak of the floorboard and every gust of wind felt like a whisper. Their once thrilling adventure had turned into something much darker. Abandoned building with a hostile homeless man. What drives a group of daring YouTubers to set out on a mission? Could it be more than just for views? But to actually help someone. They had previously met a homeless man living in an abandoned building, and their goal was to check on him and offer assistance. Sounds noble, right?
I was here in the daytime, but now all I have is my GoPro and this one flashlight in my hand.
But what started as a heartfelt mission quickly spiraled into an intense and nerve-wracking situation. As they made their way through the shadowy halls of the decaying structure, the group decided to go separate ways. One person stayed behind to record, while another ventured deeper into the eerie silence of the building. What they discovered next changed everything. Upstairs, the homeless man they had come to help suddenly appeared, and he was far from welcoming.
Hey, get to us, man. Get to us.
Habla conmigo, habla conmigo. ¿Qué tú quieres aquí?
Bro,
Balón.
bro, I got a rock. Me, I got a rock.
Instead of gratitude, they were met with anger. The man, clutching a machete, shouted at them to leave his space immediately.
Yo! No, chill! Oh, he's on crack! Oh, my light! Oh, he's on crack!
Despite their attempts to calm him down and explain their good intentions, his irritation only intensified. Realizing how dangerously close they were to real harm, the group made the only choice they could: abandon their mission and retreat. What began as an act of kindness ended as a chilling reminder that not every good intention is met with open arms. YouTubers' expedition into an abandoned town. In another hair-raising adventure, a group of daring YouTubers set out to explore the haunting remains of an abandoned mining town. Ignoring rusted warning signs and faded caution tape, they pressed forward, curiosity driving them deeper into the forgotten ruins. At first, it was the typical eerie silence of abandonment, crumbling walls, shattered windows, and the occasional gust of wind whistling through empty spaces. But then, they saw it. In one of the supposedly empty buildings, a faint glow flickered through a broken window.
What light?
Hey, guys, there's a light on the house.
A light, in a place where no one was supposed to be. Their initial excitement quickly turned to unease as they debated whether to investigate or turn back. But curiosity won, as it often does. What followed was a series of pulse-racing moments, close calls and discoveries that felt straight out of a horror movie.
What?
What is that?
Hey, we should get out though.
Okay, that's fine.
That night left them with more than just content for their channel. It left them with stories they'd carry forever. Some places, they realized, are abandoned for a reason. The abandoned zoo. Exploring an abandoned zoo in Los Angeles sounds like the beginning of a thrilling YouTube adventure, and for one group of thrill seekers, it was exactly that. They ignored the ominous stories of hauntings tied to the area and pushed deeper into the eerie ruins of what was once a bustling animal sanctuary. Cages sat empty and rusted, faded signs told stories of animals long gone, and the wind whistled through cracked enclosures. But the deeper they went, the stranger things became. They stumbled upon ritualistic artifacts, symbols etched into walls, scattered candles, and objects arranged in unsettling patterns.
Dude, that's so gross.
Oh, dude, that's like a ritual doll.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this.
That's definitely been used for a ritual. Evil things were done with this.
The air felt colder, heavier, and their usual confident chatter faded into nervous whispers. Then came the realization: they were lost. Surrounded by crumbling structures and trapped in the sprawling grounds of the zoo, panic set in. Every noise felt sharper, every shadow seemed to move closer. They knew Griffith Park's dark history, and at that moment, it felt like the past was reaching out to them. Eventually, they found their way out, but the experience left them shaken and silent. The forgotten mansion of Wakayama. Who built this forgotten Western-style mansion concealed behind overgrown trees and layers of dust in Wakayama Prefecture? Built in 1910, this grand estate once belonged to Asahiro Yura, a key figure in Japan's Industrial Revolution. But this wasn't just any wealthy industrialist's home. Asahiro was a pioneer. During World War I, when German dye imports were cut off, he rose to the challenge, becoming the first in Japan to refine industrial-grade pure benzene. His innovations didn't stop there. He also made strides in producing explosives and gunpowder, forming critical ties with military officials. But today, the mansion tells a very different story. Its once luxurious halls are now filled with peeling wallpaper, sagging ceilings, and the faint scent of mildew. The grand windows that once let sunlight pour in now barely let shadows escape. Yet the mansion refuses to be forgotten. Urban explorers and thrill seekers still make their way to this decaying relic, drawn by the feeling of the place, an unshakable sense that they're not alone.
I think this place is really haunted.
Strange flickers of light in empty rooms, faint footsteps echoing in the distance, and unexplained sounds keep visitors on edge. Abandoned location with doppelganger phenomena. Imagine turning a corner in a deserted building. What would you do if you saw yourself standing there? That's the kind of chilling experience a group of urban explorers faced when they entered a desolate structure with an eerie reputation. The adventure began like any other: nervous excitement, flashlight beams cutting through dusty air, and the constant creak of aging floorboards beneath their feet. But things quickly took a turn. One explorer felt it first: a presence. Not behind him, not in front of him, but between him and his companion. The feeling was impossible to shake, and as they pressed forward, things only got stranger. Whispers echoed from unseen corners, shadows flickered in ways that didn't make sense, and objects, seemingly untouched, shifted slightly out of place.
Yeah. Wow, what is this, guys? Maybe this is the heater room. This is the heater, I think. I don't know if it is, but it looks like it.
But the scariest moment came when one of them thought they saw themselves. An apparition, faint and flickering, like a reflection in a broken mirror. It wasn't just a trick of the light, it was something else. And then they remembered a chilling warning they'd heard before their visit. Beware of doppelgangers in abandoned places. They're not just reflections, they're something darker. The explorers didn't need any more convincing. With every creak, every whisper, every feeling of being watched, their fear grew heavier. When they finally emerged into the daylight, they realized they had barely escaped something far darker than mere shadows. Millard Filmore Hospital. Abandoned hospitals are creepy enough on their own, but when the lights are still on in a building that's been empty for years, that's next-level eerie. The Millard Filmore Hospital in Buffalo, New York, originally opened its doors in 1909 as the Buffalo Homeopathic Hospital. For over a century, it was a place of healing, but now it stands as a decaying shell of its former self. When a team of urban explorers decided to step inside, they expected crumbling walls, dusty hallways, and maybe a forgotten wheelchair or two. But what they found was much stranger. In one room, sitting quietly amid the decay, they discovered an old syringe.
Those like syringe type things.
Yeah.
A haunting reminder of the building's medical past. But what really sent chills down their spines were the powered lights flickering faintly in certain corners of the building. Wait, powered lights? The hospital had been abandoned for years, yet wires still snaked through the mold-covered ruins, leading to places unknown. The group couldn't help but ask who or what was keeping the power on, and why. Every flicker of light felt deliberate, every hum of electricity felt alive. As they wandered deeper into the building, the explorers couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was still there, hidden in the shadows, watching their every move. As they stepped back into the fresh air, one question haunted them. What if the hospital had never been truly abandoned? The haunting echoes of the Robert Fulton School. Walking into a place so still, yet so loud with history, that's exactly how it felt for a group of urban explorers as they stepped into the Robert Fulton School. Armed with GoPro cameras and flashlights, they wandered through decaying classrooms where vintage desks stood frozen in time and faded posters clung desperately to peeling walls. Their footsteps echoed, each creak and crunch underfoot, amplifying the eerie silence. But then, bang! An unexplained noise shattered the quiet. The group froze, hearts pounding, as they scanned the shadows. Was it the wind, an animal, or something else entirely? Whatever it was, it served as a chilling reminder that in places like this, the past never truly stays silent. A night of terror in the abandoned mansion. Returning to an abandoned mansion after dark, led by nothing more than a gut feeling and haunting recollections, one explorer faced the unknown. But the moment he crossed the threshold, a heavy unease settled over him. Armed with only a flashlight, he tried to communicate with whatever spirits might linger. But then, a sound. A faint noise coming from the basement. Against his better judgment, he descended the creaking stairs.
Someone's definitely gonna be in here, so I guess I'll be fine.
And was met with a flickering glow and shadowy movements in the corner of his eye. But the true terror began when he came face to face with a bizarrely dressed figure behaving erratically. In a heartbeat, a chase began, a heart-pounding sprint through crumbling hallways and twisting corners. In that moment, the line between supernatural and real danger blurred completely. Trapped in Slendermans House. You'd think after one visit to a place called Slendermans House, you'd stay far away. But curiosity is a powerful force, and a team of explorers returned, this time to investigate the mysterious basement that had once been flooded. What they found was even stranger. Dry floors, humming machinery, and a blood-marked tunnel leading somewhere unknown.
You know what? I got something for you guys. I got something for you guys.
Bro, he's not talking to himself.
But their investigation took a terrifying turn when they realized the basement door had been nailed shut behind them. Panic set in. Frantically searching for an escape, they stumbled upon an old doll, its hollow eyes staring back at them. As they hid in the shadows, they heard footsteps descending the stairs. Their captor was coming. Barely escaping, they fled into the night, shaken and haunted by the basement's unanswered mysteries. The forgotten mine of Deadwood Creek. There's something inherently unsettling about abandoned industrial sites, and the mine and mill at Deadwood Creek are no exception. A team of explorers braved dense undergrowth and decaying tunnels to uncover the site's long-forgotten secrets.
Or so, and dead ends right down there where my light is, and it's flooded the entire way, and it smells funny in here.
Flooded mine shafts filled with stagnant water hinted at years of neglect. But it wasn't the decay that unsettled them. It was the activity. Inside the old processing facility, objects seemed to move on their own. Strange sounds echoed through empty hallways, and every dark corner felt like it was watching them. Rational minds tried to dismiss it, but eventually even the skeptics felt it. An overwhelming sense that they weren't alone. Abandoned school in Starbuck with unseen presence. Ever walked into a place that felt wrong the second you crossed the threshold? That's precisely what unfolded when a group of urban explorers stepped into an abandoned school in Starbuck. For one of them, this place wasn't just another decaying building. It held a personal connection, making the experience even more intense. The air was thick with dust and something else, something harder to explain. As they wandered through darkened classrooms and hallways, frozen in time, the explorers heard it. A single chilling footstep from upstairs. They froze. Every sound, every creak of the old wooden floors felt amplified.
Oh, the night. What the f was that? Did you hear that?
Then one of them felt something or someone brush past him. That was enough. Panic set in, adrenaline kicked in, and they made a run for it. Chase at the abandoned university. Exploring an abandoned university sounds exciting until the rumors of multiple murders start to feel a little too real. Armed with an EMF detector and pretending to shoot a documentary, a team of explorers cautiously stepped into the silent, decaying halls. At first, it was quiet, too quiet. But then they stumbled upon something odd, a sealed-off circular building hidden deep in the campus. As they debated their next move, a sudden realization hit them. They'd been spotted. What started as a careful exploration turned into a heart-pounding chase through crumbling hallways and dark stairwells.
What are you doing here?
The team barely escaped, leaving behind more questions than answers. The haunting secrets of an abandoned mall. An abandoned mall, closed only since 2013, shouldn't feel this eerie. But as urban explorers walked through its wide halls, they realized something unsettling. The lights were still on, the fans were still running, and it felt as though the mall had just paused mid-scene. But as they explored deeper, it became clear they weren't alone. They found signs of life, a sleeping bag tucked into a corner, fresh footprints on dusty tiles, and a sense that someone, or something, was watching. The exploration reached its peak in the abandoned movie theater, where they encountered an unexpected guest, a local resident drawn back to relive old memories in the ruins of a once bustling space. Haunted abandoned village. A group of men equipped with charts, ghost hunting gear, and a blend of curiosity and boldness ventured into an abandoned village known for its paranormal activity. From the moment they stepped onto the crumbling streets, the air felt wrong. Strange noises echoed from empty houses, and every shadow seemed to stretch just a little too far. But as they pushed deeper into the heart of the village, things started to go very wrong. One by one, members of the group began to feel off. First came the physical symptoms: ears bleeding, burning sensations, and a crushing feeling, like invisible hands wrapping around their throats. Then came the behavioral changes. Some started acting erratically, their voices changing, their movements jerky and unnatural. It was as if something unseen had crept into their minds. Shaken and sick, the group finally stumbled back to safety, their once confident curiosity replaced with lingering fear. The mall frozen in time. When a group of explorers stepped into the decaying Poly Plaza in Wuhan, China, they couldn't believe their eyes. The elevator was still operational. The silence was surreal. Dust-covered storefronts stood frozen in time, empty restaurants sat ready for customers who would never return, and a still operational cinema waited quietly in the shadows. But just as the group began to lose themselves in the eerie beauty of the place, they spotted something, or rather, someone. A security guard stepped into view, and their exploration came to an abrupt end. Paranormal House with moving chairs. A group of paranormal investigators wanted to see a place where the usual rules of the world didn't seem to apply. One chilly night, they set out to find clear proof of the unexplained. However, what they found was much more than any of them expected. The night began like any other investigation, flashlights cutting through the darkness, cameras rolling, and the eerie quiet of an abandoned structure surrounding them. But as they stepped further inside, the silence was shattered by an odd sound: wood striking wood. It wasn't random, it was rhythmic, deliberate, as if invisible hands were rearranging something just out of sight.
Everything's swinging too. Oh shit. Look.
But the strangest part was yet to come. In the kitchen, an ear-splitting bang echoed from above. Instinctively, they climbed the creaky stairs, drawn by a force they couldn't explain. But what waited for them upstairs defied logic. Chairs, yes, chairs, were suddenly appearing in places they shouldn't have been, as if someone had dragged them there in an instant. They moved impossibly fast, shifting as if controlled by an unseen force. Each step forward felt heavier, stranger, as if the team was slipping further away from the real world. Unexplainable sounds surrounded them, faint whispers brushed against their ears, and then something unthinkable happened. One investigator turned to look at his teammate and froze.
Those footsteps? Damn it! My eyes are f***ing playing tricks on me or something. I don't know, man. Huh? I don't know, dude.
In the dim light, his colleague's face seemed to shift. Just for a moment, it was like they were staring at someone, or something else entirely. When they stepped into the cold night air, one thing was clear. Whatever was inside that house wasn't done with them. The asylum that refused to be forgotten. What happens when you step into a place that was never meant to be revisited? A place where countless lives ended and the echoes of their pain still linger in the air. That's the question Sam and Colby, along with their team, set out to answer one fateful night in Washington, D.C.'s infamous Forest Haven Asylum. The journey began long before they reached the asylum itself. A quarter-mile hike through dense, shadowy woods set the stage, with every step feeling heavier than the last. The air was thick, not just with the dampness of the forest, but with something else. Something heavy, something watching. Forest Haven wasn't just any abandoned building. Over 100 people had died there, trapped in what was supposed to be a place of care, but had instead become a house of suffering. And as the group crossed its crumbling threshold, it felt like those souls were still there, watching, waiting. But the real horror wasn't in the peeling walls or broken furniture, it was in the sounds. Out of nowhere, the sharp wail of sirens pierced the silence. Sirens, in an abandoned asylum, deep in the forest, in the middle of the night. The noise grew louder and closer until it felt like it was right on top of them. Panic set in, and the group stumbled out into the woods, hearts racing. But the strange occurrences didn't stop. Strange lights flickered in the trees. The unmistakable hum of helicopter blades roared above them. And then came the scream. It wasn't just any scream. It was sharp, piercing, and unmistakably childlike.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that. Somebody is screaming.
Someone's screaming bloody murder.
A scream of pure, raw desperation. The group froze, their breath caught in their throats. Was it a ghost? A lingering spirit? Or something far worse? When they finally left the forest, they knew their adventure had left a lasting mark on them. Forest Haven wasn't just a haunted building. It was a wound, still open, still bleeding, and still very much alive. The abandoned school adventure. What is it about abandoned schools that feels so incredibly creepy? Maybe it's the empty hallways, the faded gymnasiums, or the classrooms filled with scattered books and broken desks. For one group of friends, curiosity overpowered fear as they stepped into an old, decaying school. The building was heavy with silence, but it wasn't empty. Not entirely. As they explored, strange noises echoed from far-off corners. Shadows moved where there shouldn't have been any, and some in the group claimed they saw figures watching them from doorways and windows. Every creak of the floor, every faint whisper, felt like a warning. By the time they left, their laughter had faded, replaced by quiet glances over their shoulders.